some tips to entrepreneurs or advertising professionals of today on how to advertise their products and create an impact in today's times?
That's a in a way simple and in a way difficult question because advertising is like that. Once you understand what you say, the essence of it, it's very easy. But till you get to understand what the essence is, it takes a long time because relevant advertising is extremely rare, and advertising that uses the relevance and still be creative is even more difficult unless you find a chabi to that. Like I'll tell you one of the ad which I was just talking to a friend.
Gopi Kukde is an advertising genius who needs no introduction, for his work speaks volumes for him. We have seen his creation throughout the years in the ads of Onida, Asian Paints, Pan Pasand, Hawkins to name a few. He is a veteran of the Indian advertising industry and a gold medalist from Sir J.J.'s School of Applied Art. He has produced and directed many ad films at Avenues for various brands and has also won CAG and Ad Club awards in recognition of his creativity. In this conversation, listen to Gopi Kukde go beyond the concepts of advertising and talk about his life learnings and anecdotes. He also digs deep into the type of thinking that young advertising professionals should develop in order to make an impact in today's times. Trust me, this is a very fulfilling and fun episode, and I'm sure it's going to open up your minds in many ways. Welcome to Art Town podcast series. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on board, sir.
Yeah, I'm happy to. Now let's see how it goes.
Yes, sir. So, to begin with, sir, you're known as a veteran of the Indian advertising industry, and we want to know and learn a lot about your life, your journey in advertising, of course. But before we begin, I want to ask you, how have you been throughout the pandemic and how has it affected you in terms of work?
What happens is as soon as there's some kind of a trouble, advertising is the first one which is chopped because people don't want to spend on advertising when there's trouble. So as usual, there's hardly any work now. They say there will be 5% work. So what I started doing was I said anyway I have wanted to do this for a long time. I started writing right from my college time, or maybe post SSC, to till today.
Wow.
So those are all kind of stories which I have collected together. It's about people, it's about incidents, it's about learning, not learning, everything. So I eventually want to make it a book. It's written in Marathi, and that's it because this is the kind of book where you can start reading anywhere and stop reading anywhere.
That's
So
one.
that's the format.
That's great, sir.
So let's see. I've come to almost maybe 2019 or something. So 1 or 2 years ka hai baki. It'll happen.
That's great, sir. We are very eager to read your work, like your life anecdotes.
No, correct. I'm scared and you're like eager.
No, sir, I'm sure it will turn out to be amazing.
Let's see. Let's hope.
Yeah.
Kept the fingers crossed.
Yes. And
Because I'm not a writer. I write the way I speak. So I think some people like it, but some people say, hey, ह्याला कुठे लिखाण म्हणतात. It's like, adding your, in architectural terms, adding, what do you call it, a false ceiling to your flat. Otherwise, people think it's not interior decorated. It's that kind of a feel.
yes, sir. But we, as your admirers, are surely eager to read it. And yeah, so moving on. Yes. And yeah, so moving on, everyone knows you, everyone who knows you or has read about you recognizes you as an extremely creative individual. And since you were brought up with a background of cinematography in your own house, what particular aspects of your upbringing have shaped you as an artist?
I was very eager to learn art, and I used to spend time drawing anything, especially Hanuman. I don't know what was fascinating about it. And my mother used to always criticizing it's not good enough. So I kept on drawing it again and again. And somehow I felt very good drawing. So that must have been the foundation of where I thought my inclinations were. And luckily, where I lived in Dadar, there was it's called, the place is called Patilwadi, it's still there, about 5 minutes away from Dadar station, west. And there was The Wadi itself was like very artistic because there was a Gadbitsa Karkhana. People, Ganpati were made there. So I used to go there. I used to kind of थोडीशी माती चोरून आणून घरी गणपती बनवायचो छोटे छोटे. So there also I used to feel very good, saying that I love that more than I love my my school studies. And most of the time when there was a PT class or games and whatever, I would sit in my class and draw. So the teacher used to get very upset. He used to drive me out into the open, but I would quietly come back and begin drawing. So obviously in the whole school I was the best in drawing because at an early age I started and was very persistent with it. Then came a time when in the vacant space in the Patilwadi there was a shade which was being erected, and I came to know it was Balkrishna Art, a studio for cinema holding paintings. So my mother immediately sensed trouble. So she said, if you before finishing your SEC, if you put your step there, put your foot there, your leg is going to be broken. And I was sure that she would have done it. So I finished my SEC. My last paper, I immediately landed in that studio and said, I want to paint, I want to draw, I love drawing. She said, okay, do a sketch. That sketch took ages because I was so scared, and because it's the first time it was a large scale sketch that I was doing. Otherwise, it was limited to a A4 kind of drawing all the time. And that's how we began. I think the first movie was Gustaki Maaf. Last movie was your Reena Roy ka multi-starrer Nagin. Then I started working. What had happened was in the drawing and it almost became like a job for me. So I was earning fairly well, and it was while earning I was learning a lot. And in the learning part was that I was getting lesser and lesser scared of colors, because in college you work out from a small dibby of colors. Here the whole palette used to be 3 feet by 4 feet. And the brushes were 2 inches, 3 inches, 4 inches. So it took away the fear of colors. Then it was bindas because even if something goes wrong, there's another one to be corrected. So there was no fear of any kind. It was just painting. So that helped a lot. I got the maximum marks in illustration, and which apparently people say, or maybe it could be WhatsApp University, that nobody's beaten those marks in JJ, the marks that I got. So I passed with distinction, and also we were supposed to be doing a campaign for the last year. Am I overlapping your questions, or should I continue? So I was supposed to, all of them are supposed to do a campaign, take any product and build a complete campaign only. I said, if I have done this cinema holdings for such a long time, why not take cinema as a product? And most of the sirs did not agree with it. They say it's not a product. Why should it need advertising? So I applied all the criteria which was there, like who was your target audience, everything, psychographic, demographics of the target audience. So after 3 months, the professor said, okay, you can go ahead with Meera. That won me the gold medal. So every ad was dedicated to one aspect of the movie. Lakshmikant Parela, Hema Malini, Lata Mangeshkar, and Gulzar. So from there we joined Chaitra Advertising, which is now Leo Burnett. And under Brendan Pereira, we had just fun. It was every day was like a picnic. We hardly worked. At least I hardly worked, because there was little work and there were too many people in it. So it was like a little food divided by many people. So hardly anything came to you. Then I realized that if I spend more time here, I will retire from advertising at the age of 22. So I said nothing doing, because I need to take challenges. I need to go out into the open and face the tigers. This was all protected area where it was like roaming in the park, which I didn't want at all. So I decided to quit Chaitra. But before that, there was a little dramatic thing that happened. one of my colleague who was a copywriter, Errol Sequeira, had gone and joined Clarion Advertising. Now, Clarion was a big number two at that time, and it was completely like, which I realized later, of course, when I joined it. The left hand didn't know what the right hand was doing because the whole operations was so large. Lots of clients, lots of executives, lots of people, lots of problems, lots. So they apparently they had launched or they wanted to launch a campaign for Asian Paints corporate, but Hindi. They wanted to kind of get into the rural areas. So the whole campaign was about Ramayan, and the colors which Ramayan gave, which represented by the story itself. Like when Sita saw Ram, the blush that came on her cheeks. The time when they went to the Panchavati, the greens that they saw. And there were couplets written in Ramayan style, or the old style, to represent the whole thing. So they tried out, I think, mostly all the Diggaj people to kind of do this illustration. And the client was not ready to, not approving anything. They all thought it was more like storytelling book. So my friend said, okay, do you want to try this out? If we succeed, then we have spoken. Otherwise, if you succeed, you keep quiet, I keep quiet, we have not spoken. So I said, okay. I anyway was wanting an opportunity. So most of the assignments that I did in foundation, I used those assignments to represent the colors. As a result, what happened, the colors came first and images of Ram and Sita were hardly there, 1.5 inch or something. So the Ram and Sita became like a symbol to kind of, spray the colors all over the page. So they approved it, and that's how I joined Clarion. 3 years, I learned everything that I needed to learn in about advertising, and also learn a lot of politics, which was very, very necessary because that is one part of human life, and you must know how to be. Otherwise, I was very bhola wala. So that bhola wala, cover went off, and I was then ready for advertising. Then came Everest Advertising, but at Clarion itself, I started illustrating for a lot of audio visuals on freelance. Then I started working for, let's say, Inadu from Hyderabad. They had an agency and they wanted a creative team. So Ashok Roy and me, both together, used to go there on a Friday evening, finish their work, campaigns, 1 or 2 campaigns, 3 campaigns or whatever, eat a lot of chilies and come back by Monday morning. So that helped me. Again, it was like the hoarding days, where lots of work and so that your brain is always working. The ideas had to come fast because within 3-4 days we were supposed to work out 3-4 campaigns. That helped big time. My working with rest of the people as freelancer shaped me as a person and made me fairly diplomatic to tackle any situation, which again I thought is very important because advertising, it's a people's business. It is it is people's business first, and then it's talent too, because you should be able to handle people right from different strata to the clients. So they put shikshan jala with all these things. Then came avenues, which was the best part of my life.
So we'll talk about that in the later segment. But I think your entire life story is like extremely inspirational for like young aspirants like us. And to break it down in a nutshell, I think you are an artist since childhood, and only with practice and persistence you've grown where you are now. As I read about you, I've read that you wanted to become an architect initially, and then you decided to take up art, and then you entered advertising. So I'm really curious to know, how did these shifts happen? Like, what was going on in your mind at that point in time?
No, there was nothing. I never thought, because as a technical student, I hated history and geography. So how do I run away from it? Legally was getting into technical field. So I did take 4 years of technical, and a 4 year of technical students used to get 5% extra to join architecture. So that is architecture, no thought. Yeah. And you see buildings, so you see who build the buildings? Architecture. So an architect builds it. So that's why I took up architecture. But I love plants, and that is how I landed in advertising, because the building which houses the JJ May,
the commercial art is a beautiful Victorian building. So I said, let me see what this building is like. So I entered there, and the professor was sitting there to give away pamphlets and syllabus. Said, what are you doing? What did you do in terms of? So I said, I came here for architect, as if this is a strange building. So he said, okay, but students like you who got A grade in your elementary and intermediate come here. So I said, what is this? What is here? He's saying applied art. So it didn't make sense to me because advertising was not, not so close to me at that point of time. So he said, okay, both the colleges have a 15-day gap. If you have about, that time it was 300 rupees a year, the fee. So he's saying, if you have 300 rupees extra to kind of just take a chance, join both. Because he knew I would get in architecture also. So I joined JJ as commercial artist and stayed there. Then I didn't go back to advertising or to the architecture at all. That's the story.
That's interesting.
Yeah, most of them are fluke stories, but they help me in a way. Otherwise, I had no friend or nothing. Nothing I had as a background to say I will take up advertising.
That's amazing, sir. That decision was really crucial in what you are today.
I know. It was my sheer luck that I got into the better side of the, college. I don't know what I would have done as an architect. Don't know.
Yeah, that's great, sir. And you had also talked about the final year cinema holding project, for which you won a gold medal for it. So, is there a story behind that as well? Like, why did you choose cinema holding as a project?
Cinema, cinema after college, I was doing cinema right till midnight. So every day, I had never sat in the college canteen. Nobody saw me in the college canteen because I had to finish the assignment on the same day. There was no way I could have taken the assignment home and finished at home. So as soon as it was 4 o'clock or 4:30, I would rush home by 5:15 or 6, maybe 6 o'clock. Start work till about midnight. So every day, 7 days a week.
That's amazing.
But it was a great amount of hard work, but it was also very self-satisfying. Very self-satisfying. We used to have Dhamal at the same time paint.
Amazing, sir. And I can sense that satisfaction and liveliness in your voice as well, that you like what you're doing, even right now. After college, you directly went on to do full-fledged advertising. Like, you have worked in some of the well-known brands like Pan Pasand, Hawkins, and Asian Paints, as you mentioned, and also some with your agency, Advertising Avenues. So I want to know, how did Avenues come into existence in the first place?
Avenues. Actually, there were 3 people. One was Gautam Rakshit, the one who started Avenues. There was Ashok Roy, who was my college mate, with whom I did maximum amount of work. And third was me. So I had decided to do freelance because, I thought enough is enough. And by which time I had already got a chapa saying that, this guy is versatile and he can do anything, or kind of thing. Plus a kind of, a slightly guarantee of Clarion and Everest. And plus other agencies which I worked for. So I had enough good reputation as a person, as a skilled worker, and as a speedy artist. I didn't take long to kind of come with an idea. So then Ashok and Gautam said, why don't you join Avenues? That's how I joined. But one thing is that though it was almost, we were all 3 partners, I never gave up, this thing. Sorry. I never gave up freelancing. Because I believe one thing that it is different people who teach you different things.
Absolutely.
So that the books of advertising is in the people.
Right. That's great, sir. So, among the large range of projects that you've worked on in advertising, which was your favorite project, or other projects that you are that were really close to your heart, or there were any fun experiences associated to it?
See, I would say Pan Pasand, because that was breaking new grounds that people normally make a film of 30 seconds and then adapt it to 10 seconds. This was a 10-second idea. So even if you gave us an extra second, we said we don't want it. That was one thing. Then it was a lot of acting, a lot of cleverness in the short time, and
Yeah, I've seen
that
that.
I think, yeah, शादी और तुमसे कब भी नहीं.
Huh. That is a brilliant ad. I think the transition that it had, like, rightly
Yes.
portrayed the product according to
Yeah,
me.
it is. The thought was that pan always has a adds muh mein mithas. So personality. The personality doesn't change, but the mithas in the your attitude changes. So we had lots of.
Right.
Unfortunately, the client liked about 3 or 4 of them, but we made I think about 23 or something ads, including the best was Chandu Parki. You must have heard of this. Chandu Parki was a
Yeah.
Marathi. His was the
Yes.
best. And I think the shooting got over in less than half an hour.
That's
All I had to
great.
do was this is the briefing. This is what we have to do. No, 3, 4 takes he gave, so all perfect.
Amazing, amazing, sir. And one of your works that is most spoken about is the Onida Devil ad. Like, it
I know,
really
right?
hit it off, and with a very attention-seeking kind of ad campaign. So, what was your thought process or concept behind the Onida
Actually,
Devil?
yeah. Before going there, I would tell you all what made us as a company make films for the client. Because as an advertising agency, the agency are not supposed to make films for their clients, because then it's like overlapping of interest. So we
Yeah.
started making our films because it was very difficult to explain a person who has not been in the groove, to make a film of a particular product. So there was one product which was Parachute Tiracha Tel, sesame seed oil,
Yeah.
where Bharti Achrekar and the other person, it was a very famous serial they were doing at that same time on television. Arvind, I think Deshpande, I'm not very sure. Arvind Deshpande maybe. So they were like a team, like husband wife. So we used their team, and it's like maybe Navra Dhandrat Asol. He's in a hurry and he gets the wrong product home. That was the story. And finally, she's convinced that he's done the right thing, and she said, "Okay, Azun 5 kilo ka nahi anda," because she has to find something wrong with his behavior all the time.
Yeah.
So we had given this film to somebody else to make, and we went to see the sets or how the film was going. Bharti Achareka was livid. He saying, "Bagre माझं माकड करून ठेवलंय." Sure enough, horrible combination of sari, aboliची वेणी, which nobody in middle class Maharashtrian wears, आणि अल्युमिनियमचे सगळे भांडी बिंडी सगळी. So it looked very low class. This product Tiracha Tel was a slightly higher class because it was an expensive product. Then we realized that the only way to do this kind of thing is make it ourselves. And then I reshot the film at my mother-in-law's house. So everything was true. Even that money plant kept in the corner of the house was true. So it looked like it was, what do you say, as real as it could be.
Authentic, yeah.
Authentic, yes. So coming to Onida, see, one has to go back to what the market situation there was. This was in 1982-83, where there were about, I think, maybe close to 20 manufacturers of, or at least brands which were in the market. Most of them they didn't get into making a television. They were buying it from foreign countries and selling it as traders. So 5,000, 10,000, 2,000 different kinds of sets, buy and sell. So they were not bothered about what was really happening in terms of their brand image. Onida was the first one which actually set up the service centers first, and then they got into launching the product. Also, what they did was they literally got the model which Japan was watching at that point of time. Most of the people got the products which were old, stale, had been. But this was, and it had 67 channels. So the joke I used to crack is saying, "Are we going to sleep in that space?" Because okay. So the market situation is what I was talking about. That it was all confused in the sense if there were about say 10, 15 brands in the market, they were all talking technology, and it was nobody knew who was saying what. There was no distinct personality to any of the products.
and all looked very confusing, except for one or two TVs which did interesting advertising. But it was only superficial. None of them had a deep-rooted, meaningful campaign. Plus, the product in this particular case was on our side because it was a vertical model, which was a monitor look. The look was good, the reproduction was superb, and it was really futuristic time before its time in those days. I'm talking about 83. So obviously we were in fact looking at a way to say how do we position this product in the minds of the consumers. What is it that people will take notice? What is it that people will say, hey, this is different? So we thought of the word which was envy. Envy came first, saying that something which is the best in your in your view is something that you envy. So the whole thought was we started from the word envy. Then that's how the broken TV. That's how there was the second ad which was a tone ad, and the third was a crumpled ad. The other two was not even spoken about. So finally we stuck to the broken TV. Now broken TV had two. One was advantage, one was a disadvantage. The advantage was people say, hey, there's something which is good and path breaking. And people who didn't like it, they said, "Hi, shit, is this the way to treat your product? Ridiculous." But both of them remembered the name, say either in a bad way or a good way. So they went to the shop and saw the product. Once they saw the product, we were sure that people will buy it because it was just too good for that time. So as soon as the sales started happening, the client was happy, the critics were unhappy, and we were happy. The critics mostly thought, in fact, saying that they told the client, Avenues has nothing to lose, you people will lose a product. But it didn't. It started rising and rising and rising because the people were talking about it. And this would have not happened if the product was not good. The product was super and the ad was path-breaking. So the teamwork gelled. Then came a time when the advertising was supposed to be taken live on television. Now, just a stone doesn't make complete the process. It doesn't make tell a story. That's why the devil came. And I was right from college days very interested and hypnotized by the look of the devil, the kind of fire and the snakes and all the hellish world fascinated me too much. So the devil was born naturally. He was our model coordinator, who kind of I bullied him to shave off his mustache because we wanted the devil to be very cute, not the horrible Rakshas look. The horrible thing was that he was a bad actor, but then we had to live with it for 1 or 2 years. Then we thought of an idea because he couldn't remember the dialogues when he acted. So each shot was 30, 40 takes. So then we requested Harish Bhimani, who was the voice of the devil, I think, to record it first as a radio spot. So his burden became that much less. Then he started acting well. So these things happen. You have to improvise on your problems,
Yes.
but never give up.
Right. And the overall ad created a very lasting impression on the minds of the customers.
Yeah.
So
Ashok also did a fantastic. Yeah, Ashok also did a fantastic job. The neighbors envy owners pride.
yeah, the tagline, yes.
Yes.
So my next question to you is, what is advertising to you? Like, is it essentially targeting the customers? Is it making them relate to the ad? Or like, how do you approach every new project that comes to you? And what is your process of portraying the brand in those 10 or 20 seconds that you have?
See, what is advertising to me? It's my oxygen.
Wonderful.
That is for sure, because I think I'm more free creating ads than I'm anything. Like I tried ceramics, of course I loved it, those 10 years that I spent. But advertising is advertising because it has got all the concoction of a heady cocktail. Now, because I've been at it for almost close to 50 years now, I don't have to slog for an idea, because I think that most of the people who are that long in advertising, the idea comes easily. And Because all you need to see, most of the people, the new generation especially, do not look at the relevance of the idea. So the idea has to be relevant. There is no question about that. If it is irrelevant, it will not make sense, and it will not make sense, so it won't stay with you. The idea has to really stay with you. I'll tell you one of my most favorite campaigns, which was a minuscule campaign. It had almost no money. You must have heard of this Anjali appliances. One of the oldest. It's a very हाथ से कटने वाले churi, and it's a very bottom level appliances. So we had to work on that. So the client said, I don't want anything else. I just want people to remember my match. That's it. So what I did was, because it is called Anjali, right? The headline which we coined was "Ek Sautan Ladoji." Right? Because she is Anjali, she will help me, and they say हाथ बटाएगी, काम चलाएगी, और मुझे खुश रखेगा. So people, women were very kind of saying, "Sautan मांगने वाली कौन है? And who's this Sautan?" So the हाथ बटाने वाली Anjali. Now this is something which is like an insight where any woman would hate a Sautan, but this woman is asking for a Sautan from the husband. So it's my very favorite campaign because it's a simple idea, simple device to make a stir in the minds of the consumer. And most of the campaigns which I prefer and I like are always about some emotion being triggered. If you don't trigger an emotion, it will never make a dent in the pocket, not the pocket, the mind. It has to make a dent in the mind. Otherwise, it's just superficial.
Yes, sir. And maybe that's because you stand out and your work stands out and people remember you because it creates a lasting impression in the minds of everyone.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And that is something which is a must.
Right. In advertising, it's the main thing, I suppose.
Right.
Yeah. And you also mentioned that you had a studio of ceramics and pottery work. So I want to ask you that what made you chase this dream even after having a successful career in advertising?
What had happened was, some long time ago I had been to Delhi, and a friend of mine in Delhi said, you should visit Khurja. So because I used to like ceramic, it was just a liking as a form of art. I went to Khurja and I became absolutely fascinated by the process, the way it was done, and I said, I must try this out. So I said, okay, let me give some time for ceramics. So I gave 10 years, where I learned, right from learning to working with architects. 10 years journey was great. Most of the time I was alone in my studio.
I also wanted to ask that why was it named Useless Ceramics? Just a curious question.
Yeah, of course. You should be curious. That is the idea. Why was it called Useless Ceramic? Because even after so many years, people ask me, Gopi Kukure, useless ceramics. So it's made a dent in their mind. The theory which I believe in was put to practice.
Amazing, sir.
I'll tell you why it is useless ceramic. Because in India, now I'll tell you a little bit of background that I used to work for these 5-star hotels through any architect. In ceramic, you need to keep double the time, because at the last moment, if your glaze go wrong, you have to go back to original. There's no I'll salvage something. That doesn't happen. So if you think the job is going to take 1 month, you tell the client 2 months. And most of the time, if you do your homework correctly, then you really take 1 month only. So in between 2 assignments, what do you do? So I used to make all these artifacts. Now, after you make these artifacts, what do you do? So I had a gallery. And the gallery was called Useless Ceramic because it was revert snobbery. Inverted snobbery. That, see, most of the ceramic which in India which is produced is useful ceramics. Cups, saucers, plates, commodes. So my philosophy was, please don't use my work. It is a piece of art. Like there was a poster in my gallery which saying, you don't use the sun. You don't use the Hussein's painting. It is there only to make a difference to your life. So that same thing, my work is, it's something for your joy. It's not for somebody to use. That's why useless.
That's a very beautiful thought, sir, I must say. And
People used to come to this gallery just to find out, oh, what useless ceramic, what is so useless about it.
yeah, because the name itself like arouses curiosity in everyone's mind. So now, like you're back into advertising now, and someone who's closely seen this industry flourishing with like new talent and technology coming into picture. How, in your opinion, has the advertising world evolved during these years?
It had evolved to a peak, maybe close to 1995. After that, at least in India, it started deteriorating because up to 1995, the agency was supreme. In the sense, the agency was the agency and the client were like your parents of a product. Both of them work in individual, in the individual capacity as a mother and father to make the product really take off. Every year there would be reviews. Every year there would be financial reviews. Every year they will be checking out whether what we are doing are right. Is there any improvement that needs to be done, or is the competition is getting better of us? Then in 1995, and that was the time when advertising as an agency would get 15% commission per 100 rupees. So 15 rupees was the agency's commission. That included, in fact, very few agencies charge their client for creative work. That was like a service, because it worked two ways. If the creative work was good, they would get other clients also. So very minuscule charges were, billed to the client for creative, but the actual money would come from the media. Okay, like if your Stardust bill is 1,000 rupees, 150 rupees will straight away would come to the agency. Then what happened is, not 1 my maths was bad. Yeah, 1,000 pay 150, correct. 10,000 pay with 1,000. So that was the time when the control was completely in the advertising agency's hands. 1995, the whole system changed. That there was big companies buying media in bulk and selling it to people as they required. Right? You got it. Then they would book the whole Stardust, say 150 pages of Stardust, and they would give half page chahiye to, 1 page chahiye to, whatever. So the control of the media buying went to this giants. It still does. As a result, what happened? The client said, okay, then I don't need an agency. I can bargain with these people and I can get the cheapest rates. So what is an agency? Because most of the clients think that they know everything, right? From creating ads. So ads can be created by me. All I need is an execution agency. So that deteriorated the standard, and it deteriorated the whole the good mix. And since then, like all the clients now believe it's a one night stand. It's not a husband-wife relationship anymore. So agencies also deteriorated, the whole system deteriorated, and the clients, like I'll give you an example where we were doing some toothpaste ad, Amar toothpaste. It was Ayurvedic toothpaste. The client thought he was the media plan we gave them, say he didn't agree with it. So he got another agency, media agency, and said, I will get a very cheap plan because for every 10 ads I get 3 ads free. But those 3 ads free were coming at what time? 11 o'clock at night. Now, who is the person who will think of a toothpaste at that time? And accompanied by condoms and other stuff which is need to be seen at that point of time. Obviously, it flopped. But they said it flopped because your creative was not good. So these are the kind of problems which came up, and they're still not resolved. Slowly, one day the client will realize that it is he who should hold the reins of what's going on in both the departments. But tab tak it will stay like. So I don't know when it will come back to the patries again. But at the moment, the whole advertising thing is derailed. A beautiful industry has lost its glamour and its discipline. You call it everything. It's lost at the moment.
Sir. And I think it's happening in every industry, like even in architecture, people prefer contractors like better than architects just to cut down the cost and make it cheap and cheaper. So it's like overall essence is losing out, right? So, and talking about costing, I would like to ask that could you give some tips to entrepreneurs or advertising professionals of today on how to like advertise their products and create an impact in today's times?
That's a in a way simple and in a way difficult question, because advertising is like that. Once you understand what you say, the essence of it, it's very easy. But till you get to understand what the essence is, it takes a long time. Because relevant advertising is extremely rare, and advertising that uses the relevance and still be creative is even more difficult, unless you find a chabi to that. So I was talking about this ad, which was a ad for a Firang whiskey. They had used a picture of the Taj Mahal, and the headline said something very nice. He's saying after the Shahenshah built the Taj Mahal, he didn't ask what the pond will cost. So it is this ad. I'm sure if somebody reads, will never forget it, because it is so relevant, so correct. Saying that after you spend so much money, what are you talking about a cheaper whiskey? Which people do.
That's a very beautiful like thought thinking and approach. And to conclude, like I recall from your profile that you had mentioned that there's still a question mark and that you're like a 17-year-old thinking of a career option. So at this point of your trajectory, what is it that you're still trying to figure out, or what dream do you have for yourself?
No, I want to learn stained glass.
Oh, you,
Let's see how it goes.
amazing, amazing.
I want to learn stained glass, and I want to learn the art of reading signatures and handwriting,
Amazing, sir.
because it's a very visual art. It's a very visual thing, which hopefully I'm good at. So I think it is a slightly extension of my personality.
Yes, sir. Yes, and like from what you said, I think that this is a very important point to learn that you should always keep learning no matter what. Like we are always students and always learners.
That also makes you humble, because you always have a guru.
Yes, absolutely, sir. Absolutely. Yes. So to conclude, I think it was a really wonderful conversation and it was a delight talking to you. Congratulations to all of you who made it till the end. Thank you for listening to this episode and I really hope you liked it. If you did, please leave us a review on our YouTube comment section. And if you come up with any questions while listening to this podcast, you can add a comment on Instagram or YouTube and we will get back to you and help you as much as possible. You can find us on Instagram or our website by the name arttown.store. So do connect with us. We're truly excited to converse with you.